El Nino turns up the heat on Masvidal.
I'm going to make us fight, and I'm going to make everyone fight who fights me fight, and that's my game plan.
Cyborg looks to scratch Cat-Eye out of the women's competition.
I don't like to talk. I like punch.
And we've reached the conclusion of the Super Six. It's Ward versus Froch.
It's high stakes, and we both mean business.
This is Fight News Now. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight News Now. The big events this weekend are Strikeforce's Melendez versus Masvidal and Showtime Super Six finale. We'll have John Ramdeen and Robin Black break down the MMA while Corey Erdman will join me for boxing. So we're starting off with a look at Strikeforce's main event as lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez will put his belt on the line against Jorge Masvidal. Melendez most recently stopped Tetsuya Kawajiri in April, while Masvidal is coming off back-to-back unanimous decision wins over Billy Evangelista and KJ Noons in his last two outings. John Pollock brings us more on this championship bout.
He has dominated the 155-pound division outside the UFC. He has outclassed elite grapplers.
Melendez jumping on him.
He is a battle-tested champion.
Oh, Melendez catches him with a counter right.
El Nino Melendez.
The destructive force that is El Nino has looked unbeatable since winning the Strikeforce interim lightweight title in April of 2009. Training out of the revered Cesar Gracie camp alongside some of the sport's best, Melendez puts forth a work ethic that is matched by few.
Machine is absolutely. Oh, and Melendez!
His ferocity and true well-rounded skill set
It's over, gentlemen. That's it.
dub him as one of the world's elite 155-pound fighters. Now the Strikeforce lightweight champion defends his title one more time. Standing in his way is Jorge Gamebred Masvidal.
The guy who's been calling me out for like the last 3 years. He told, I think one time he said, I'll whip Josh Thompson and Gilbert Melendez ass in one day. He said something along those lines. I remember things like that, and I've been imagining how I'm gonna fight this guy, 4 or 5 years ago, and I've watched him grow, and I've watched him, stay the same at times, and I study all my opponents that same way. So no, he's definitely a talented guy, and I'm looking forward to it.
Having fought for a number of promotions around the world, Masvidal entered Strikeforce earlier this year and made a strong case as title contender with wins over Billy Evangelista
Jorge Masvidal took a lopsided unanimous decision.
and KJ Noons.
Oh, a big kick. Masvidal jumping on Noons as he drops him.
The 27-year-old is known for his fluid movement and strong boxing, but the champion has those strengths scouted.
I examine him real close, and I know how I'm gonna be able to do stuff.
As we have seen in the past, the Miami native isn't one to shy away from a dogfight. If a cocky Masvidal emerges and chooses to trade leather with Melendez, he could fall into the champion's trap.
I want him to fight me. I want to force the fight going on. Now, when the fight starts happening and we start fighting, when I mean fighting, I mean like we're standing in the pocket, we're throwing, and it's some real stuff, not sticking and moving and running. I'm going to make us fight, and I'm going to make everyone fight who fights me fight, and that's my game plan.
The Cesar Gracie fighter walks into this bout with pressure and much to prove. As the UFC eyes this bout, Melendez must have a dominant performance if he wishes to make a strong transition. Conversely, the ATT product finds himself with the biggest challenge and opportunity of his career. If he can secure a win, not only would he take Melendez's Strikeforce title, but he would also steal his hype.
To this day, Gilbert Melendez is still my toughest fight. I don't think it was my best performance, but he beat me in a split decision. I think the champ is going to continue to hold the belt after this fight. Masvidal is very dangerous. Good striker, very good ground game. This is the best Gilbert Melendez we've ever seen, and I think he's going to use his stand-up to stop the takedowns. His striking gets better. Every fight you see him just improve. His ground game is second to none. His wrestling is very tough. He's hard to take down, and I think the champ is going to. I think he's going to hold. I think he's going to finish in third round.
Masvidal is a really underrated guy. I think Masvidal is a great fighter, so I'm excited for that. But Gil, I've been sparring with Gil a lot lately, and he's a beast right now. Best I've seen him look.
We've been waiting a while to see what Zuffa had planned for Gilbert Melendez, but for now he'll defend his title against a tough lightweight. Let's take it over to our analysts John Ramdeen and Robin Black for more.
Thanks, Sarah. El Nino Gilbert Melendez firing on all cylinders right now. Many recognize the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter as one of the best lightweights in the world, but Jorge Masvidal wants to steal his thunder.
Yes, he does. And Jorge Masvidal's no joke. In his last 3 fights, this guy has done 45 minutes with Paul Daly, with KJ Noons, and with Billy Evangelista, winning 2 of those fights and looking very good in each of them. The trick here in this fight to me is all about whether or not Gilbert Melendez is taking it as seriously as he needs to. For Masvidal, this is his UFC title. This is his ultimate important fight. He's fighting for the Strikeforce title. It feels like the world to him. For El Nino, whether or not he's focused on this fight with all the talk about the UFC, with talk about him fighting the top UFC guys in the world, is he focused? That's the story here.
Robin, over the years, Melendez said that he is a Strikeforce fighter. First and foremost, he is more than happy to call that championship his own and fight for the company for years to come. And the way to do that is to use that game plan, stay on top. Masvidal, a decision fighter, doesn't really finish many guys as well. Same with Melendez. This is a guy who likes to stay on top, uses his wrestling to keep the fight down to the ground. Shinya Aoki could not stop this guy, and we saw what he could do when you implement the elbows. Simply destructive. I think he's going to be more than happy to close that distance and put Masvidal on his back and stay there for 5 rounds.
No matter how you slice it, it's still going to be a great, great fight for the Strikeforce title.
There's more Strikeforce to come after the break with Cyborg back in action to defend her belt.
I want to say thank you for Strikeforce for bringing her fight with me.
Welcome back. It's been quite some time since we last saw a high-profile female MMA fight and almost 18 months since Christiane Cyborg Santos got to defend her featherweight title. This weekend, she'll face Jules veteran Hiroko Yamanaka. Cyborg has stopped all but 3 of her opponents, while Yamanaka is known for going the distance and is on an 8-fight winning streak. Here's John Pollock with all the details.
It's been well over a year since fans have seen the cataclysmal effects of Strikeforce Women's Featherweight Champion Cris "Cyborg" Santos. The #1 pound-for-pound female fighter has been paired against top-notch competition, including veteran Shayna Baszler, former SmackDown middleweight champion Hitomi Akano, the one-time face of women's mixed martial arts Gina Carano, and former Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight champion Marloes Coenen. The Brazilian has crushed all comers and successfully made her second title defense against a game Jan Finney. Virtually clearing out her division, Santos also found herself with an expired contract. With pending negotiations that resulted in time away from the cage, the Amazonian considered a career in pro wrestling. However, those plans fell through, and on August 25, 2011, Cyborg re-signed with Strikeforce. She returns to action to take on Hiroko Yamanaka, who makes her American debut entering this bout on an 8-fight win streak under the Jules promotion. Yamanaka is a proficient striker who is adept on the ground and uses her large frame to control opponents wherever the fight goes. Utilizing her Muay Thai to pour on the pressure has garnered her a number of decision victories in the past, but that same tactic could backfire against a powerful champion.
Leg kick. 20 closing her eyes and just throwing punches. Ooh, that one hurt her. Right hand, and Baszler goes down. That's it.
Santos aims to be a key component in the growth of women's mixed martial arts, and as Strikeforce's doors remain open, there will be a platform. If Cyborg walks away with her 11th win, she could remain at the forefront as the face of female mixed martial arts.
Dream light heavyweight champion Gegard Mousasi makes his Strikeforce return against Ovince SaintPreux. Mousasi is undefeated in 4 fights and stopped Hiroshi Izumi in the first round of his most recent outing. OSP rides an 8-fight winning streak and has a perfect record with the promotion. Let's hear more about this match from James Lynch.
One glance at Strikeforce light heavyweight Gegard Mousasi outside of the cage, he comes across shy and a little on the awkward side.
Thank you. I think, yeah. Thank you.
But inside the cage, the 26-year-old is a relentless beast who finishes his opponents by any means necessary. In 2009, before John Jones or Rory McDonald, Mousasi was the hottest up-and-coming fighter in the sport, running a 15-fight win streak and emerging as the Strikeforce light heavyweight champion.
He's arrived.
However, in 2010, the Armenian ran into former NCAA Division I wrestler Mohamed Kingmo Lawal, who not only beat him down emotionally,
free time. Okay, because you have plenty of free time come April 17th.
But physically, Kingmo dominated the champ over 5 rounds to take home the title.
Champion.
After fighting overseas in Japan and winning the Dream Light Heavyweight Championship, Mousasi returned to the Strikeforce cage, only to fight to a lackluster draw against UFC veteran Keith Jardine. At Strikeforce this Saturday night, the K1 kickboxer is paired with a fighter looking to make a name for himself in Ovince SaintPreux. The Haitian-American has been impressive as of late, competing 6 times in 2010, twice this year already, totaling an 8-fight win streak. The Knoxville MMA product will want to use his wrestling to neutralize the Armenian. However, he should be careful of the ground, as Mousasi has 10 submissions to his credit. Look for Mousasi to use his judo to gain top position and to end the fight in typical fashion via ground and pound. For SaintPreux, a victory over an established veteran would put fellow 205-pound fighters on notice, while a statement win for Mousasi would not only win him over with the North American fans, but would likely earn him a contract with the UFC.
In a lightweight clash, KJ Nunes faces Billy Evangelista. Nunes had his 6-fight winning streak snapped by Nick Diaz and suffered a consecutive loss to Jorge Masvidal in June. Evangelista suffered his first career loss when he dropped a unanimous decision to Masvidal this past March. Both fighters are looking for a win, and here's John Pollock with more.
King Carl KJ Nunes will meet American Kickboxing Academy product Billy Evangelista in a battle of 2 men who share a common loss to #1 lightweight contender Jorge Masvidal. The 10-4 Nunes, who has fluctuated between 170 and 155, seems content at lightweight following a 2010 loss to Nick Diaz. Nunes returned to 155 with a unanimous loss to Masvidal this past June, where he was susceptible to Masvidal's takedowns and taking significant damage in the opening round that his boxing could not overcome in the latter 2 rounds. Nunes will need to shore up those deficiencies against the tough Evangelista, who could pressure Nunes for the takedown and put Nunes in the position where he needs to defend off his back, a question that surrounds Nunes of having a complete game. However, Evangelista showed his own problems with a striker in his own loss to Masvidal in March, where the bigger Masvidal bullied Evangelista in the stand-up department and also took down Evangelista at will, especially in round number 2. If either man hopes to be a lightweight title contender, they will each need to show marked improvement from their bouts with Masvidal, with Nunes needing to evolve past his exceptional striking ability, and Evangelista being able to hang with a striker the level of Nunes. It's a formidable test for each, and a fight that could bear the next lightweight title contender.
On the preliminary card, Muay Thai specialist Cris Fodor is up against wrestler Justin Wilcox. Fodor is undefeated with Strikeforce and has won 4 straight fights, while Wilcox was riding a 6-fight winning streak until suffering a no contest in his last bout with JZ Cavalcante. After the break, we're looking at the final chapter of the Super Six World Boxing Classic.
It should be a tremendous night of boxing. May the best man win.
This segment on Fight Network is brought to you by Iron Core Performance Training. It's been more than 2 years in the making, and finally the Super Six tournament champion will be crowned with the Ring Magazine, the WBC and WBA super middleweight titles. Before we get to who that could be, John Pollock takes a look back on the road to the finals.
The Showtime Super Six tournament, which started in 2009, is finally coming to a head, beginning with 6 of the elite fighters in the super middleweight division: Andre Ward, Carl Froch, Mikael Kessler, Andre Durrell, Jermaine Taylor, and Arthur Abraham. The tournament capped off with 3 separate round robins, where all 6 fighters were to meet each other before the elimination rounds. In the first round, Froch won a very controversial decision.
And still champion, Carl the Cobra Froch.
Ward fought Kessler in a gritty battle where the Dane found himself beaten to a bloody pulp.
Wow, look at the blood coming out of Kessler's eye. He is severely cut. Ward advancing, feeling the victory.
Stop. You okay with that? Let's stop it. Right now.
And it's over.
In the last and most exciting fight, Arthur Abraham battled former middleweight champion Jermaine Taylor. It looked as if Taylor was going to walk away the victor. However, Abraham battled back and secured a TKO victory in the 12th round.
He just short-circuited Jermaine Taylor in the final seconds of the fight with a massive shot.
After the first round, Taylor dropped out of the tournament, and replacement fighter Alan Green took his place. Green fought Ward in his first fight, and unfortunately, he was picked apart by the Olympian.
Andre Ward is really confusing him right now.
The Cobra fought hard against Kessler, but was outclassed and dropped the decision.
And the new WBC Super Middleweight Champion of the world, the Viking Warrior, Mikael Kessler.
Finally, Durrell battled Abraham and won on points. After the second round, Durrell dropped out of the tournament due to a head injury, and veteran fighter Glenn Johnson took his spot. Kessler also had to drop out of the tournament due to injuries and was never replaced. In the third round, Ward got a bye as he had won his 2 previous battles convincingly, while the other 4 fighters faced each other to see who got a spot in the semifinals. The only fighter not to place in the semis was Alan Green, who was knocked out by his former sparring partner Glenn Johnson.
Down goes Alan Green.
Oh no.
Hits in the back of the head. It's over.
In the first elimination bout, Ward secured another easy victory over the outmatched Armenian.
Ward hooking off the jab. Now, letting his hands go.
Froch and Johnson went to war in the second fight and went back and forth over 12 hellacious rounds. In the end, the Brit was awarded the split decision and a shot in the finals.
Right hand! Big right hand by Johnson. Backs up Froch. Froch fighting off the ropes now. Carl Froch.
The finals are just around the corner and both Ward and Froch are ready for a war. As Ward is much more well-rounded, the Brit will have to give everything he's got on Saturday night as he prepares to undergo the toughest test of his career, and the Showtime Super Six champion will be crowned after over 2 years of fights.
Andre Ward enters the Super Six final with a perfect record, while Carl Froch is 29-1, having suffered his only career loss to Mikhail Kessler in the second stage of the tournament. John Pollock tells us how these 2 spectacular pugilists got here and what we can expect.
With only 2 fighters left, the boxing world is eagerly awaiting the conclusion of the Showtime Super Middleweight Tournament, where Carl the Cobra Froch will take on the Son of God, Andre Ward. Both these fighters have had a tough road to reach the finals, fighting 4 different times to secure their spot. During the tournament, Ward fought Mikhail Kessler, Alan Green, Arthur Abraham, and in a non-tournament fight to keep himself prepared, Sakio Bika. In all of his fights, Ward looked very impressive, absolutely destroying Kessler.
First few rounds. Kessler having a problem right now with Ward's speed. This is a whole different Andre Ward.
The Olympic gold medalist, Andre Ward, has arrived, and this guy has all the tools.
And in a tough, gutsy performance, he suffered numerous hard fouls at the hands of the African, but his composure under pressure kept him in the winner's circle.
Stop! Watch
He want to fight Gardy? We can bring that. Come on!
Bika has done everything he promised. He's throwing combinations, taking risks. He's made this a rumble, and they're throwing holes in the ring right now.
Ward's semifinal matchup against Abraham saw the technical skills of the Olympian emerge as he completely outclassed the overmatched Armenian and secured himself a spot in the finals.
Ward hooking off the jab. Now, letting his hands go.
Froch also had a very difficult road throughout the tournament, winning a very controversial decision over Andre Durrell, with his future in the tournament not looking bright.
Durrell, a sharp, lightning-quick puncher.
His next fight saw him suffer the only loss of his career when he met Mikhail Kessler and dropped the decision after being picked apart through 12 rounds.
Under a minute to go. Look at him. Toe-to-toe. Kessler with Froch on the ropes.
The tide seemed to be turning for the cocky Brit as he finally got his confidence back when he outfoxed Arthur Abraham. With the momentum back on his side, Froch put on a spectacular performance in the semifinals, fighting 12 hard rounds against veteran Glenn Johnson and sealing his fight as a tournament finalist.
Oh, big right hand by Froch. Carl Froch comes out strong to start the round.
Ben, pick it up! Pick it up, man, pick it up!
These 2 fighters are preparing for their toughest challenge to date. Their boxing styles are not similar, as Froch likes to use his jab and straight punches to set up his combinations, while the American uses classic boxing techniques to break down opponents. The Brit will need to be careful as he tends to drop his hands after he throws punches, which will open up opportunities for the Olympian to counter.
Johnson invading his space.
Stop him coming in, Carl! Come on, man! It's a good friend!
Right now, it looks like Carl Froch is going to have to adjust his game plan if he wants to win this fight tonight.
Ward is technically a much better boxer. His footwork, hand speed, and power are better than his opponents. However, Froch believes in his skills and will stand in front of the gold medalist until the end of the night.
Here's where the boxer transforms into the fighter.
On Saturday, 2 superpowers will stand their ground ready for battle as both sides set their sights on dominating their opposition and take the throne as king of the super middleweight division.
Ward is faster, Ward moves around, Ward creates space, and he's the favorite. He don't have to do a lot to win.
Our boxing analyst, Corey Irvin, joins me now. Corey, neither one of these fighters were favorites going into the tournament, but Ward has yet to be defeated. Froch lost early on to Mikhail Kessler. How would you describe each one of their journeys leading up to the finals?
Well, that's exactly right. Andre Ward was the untested prospect heading into this tournament. Froch, although he came in riding a win over Jermaine Taylor, was seen as a little bit vulnerable. But after a while, we hoped and expected for these guys to be in the finals, and it looks good on the tournament. The two originals wind up in the championship.
Okay, now let's talk about their styles. Froch, sometimes he'll open up a little bit, drop his hands. Do you think Ward's going to be able to take advantage of that?
That's going to be the key. Carl Froch likes to be in control, or at least likes to think that he's in control of fights. And you saw in the Glenn Johnson match, he was getting hit with those straight right hands from range, and Andre Ward has a similar tool. He has a good straight right hand, and he needs to be able to capitalize on that. He needs to come over the top of that right hand and really get in Froch's head that he's in control early on in this fight.
And what does Froch have to counteract with?
He needs to throw that jab early and often. That's his best weapon, and sometimes he ignores it. As you put it, he has his hands down, and he can be vulnerable, he can get hit. But he needs to be throwing that up, throw that up jab and keep it out there, because Andre Ward isn't a terrifying pressure fighter, although we saw him kind of trap Alan Green on the ropes. Alan Green wasn't doing anything, and Carl Froch can't fall into that trap. He needs to be active with that left hand, as busy as possible.
Okay, so we're finally getting to see the championship bout. Make your prediction, Corey.
I'm going to go against the grain. I know that Carl Froch is the underdog on almost all sports books, and a lot of people are picking Andre Ward. But Carl Froch has something that Andre Ward doesn't. He has lost before, which means that he knows when he's in trouble, and he knows how to battle back. What's going to happen with Andre Ward if he gets down a couple rounds? Does he know how to rally back? Carl Froch has arguably had the toughest schedule in all of boxing over the last 2 years. He's faced better competition, and I think that Ward might be in a little bit too deep. I see Froch winning a close, unanimous decision.
Andre Ward, the guy hasn't lost since he's 12 years old, Olympic gold medalist. Stylistically, he's a southpaw, he's a great fighter. I love to watch him fight. Carl Froch is a tough guy, a warrior. But I think that he has too many mistakes defensively to beat Andre Ward. He's going to come at Andre Ward and try to put the pressure on. He's going to get countered and picked apart all night.
Thank you to our analysts, John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and Corey Irvin for breaking down the fights this weekend. And on behalf of Fight Network, I'd like to thank Iron Core Performance Training for having us in their space. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the fights this weekend.
This is what top sport's all about. The best in the division fighting each other, for meeting each other, and that's what has achieved this tournament.
I take nothing away from Carl Froch. I believe he's a competitor. Of course, he wants to keep his belt. He wants to continue to build his reputation and, of course, win this tournament. Well, I feel the same way.